Hi, this is Lisa Rangel with Chameleon Resumes, the premier executive resume writing company, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today we're going to talk about how do you find motivation for your executive's job search. Now, sometimes executives are really hard on themselves and they feel like they should be naturally inspired or naturally motivated, or it should be intuitive to want to go, to the next step. And sometimes I'm telling you, that's just not the case, right? I mean, executives are human just like everybody else. And it's not always naturally there, the motivation to do an executive job search, especially if it's not a search that you're doing willingly. If you've been laid off, if you've been downsized, if you've been reallocated in a position that you don't want, if the looming outcome of you getting laid off is hanging over you, and you have to make a move, but you're just really hesitant to do it. When you fear you may lose what you have, and it's not always intuitive to do a job search or to have that motivation to do the job search, because people are afraid, and I get it. I've been there. I have, in my work travels, have been blessed to come to know Dr. Ron Friedman. He is a social psychologist who specializes in learning and understanding human motivation, and he founded the company Ignite 80. He has tons of advice and information that is very practical and tactical to move yourself into action, and find motivation within, through suggestions, through things through observations and studies in science. So I love his work, and I'm going to encourage you to, down below I give you a link to just join his mailing list and see what he has to offer, because I find it very helpful. Something that I like to do, and here's the thing about motivation, right? All these motivation tactics, whether it's through Dr. Ron, whether it's through other people that you find motivating, whether it's suggestions from your friends that were things that worked for them, or a suggestion I can give you today. Here's the thing that I find, my experience with motivational tactics. I find it's helpful to have a whole bunch in your arsenal, right? These are almost like little motivation weapons, right? And they all don't work all the time, which is why you need more than one, in my opinion. And so, or at least that's my tactic in how I approach motivation. There's sometimes little games that I'll play with my head, and it gets me to start moving. And then, the momentum of just that comes from starting moving and starting to do something just sort of begets more motivation to keep going. So, I find that if I just can kind of start the one thing, I'll even give myself permission to stop, after 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Or I'll give another tactic that I'll do is I'll give myself a goal of if I can just get this one thing done today, everything else will work out fine, even if I do nothing else. And often I'm not just doing the one thing, but just having the expectation lowered of having the one thing done just takes the pressure off, because then if you do two, you've exceeded your expectation for yourself of what you got done that day. And I find that works with the job search. If you're hesitating networking, if you're hesitating sending a resume to a colleague where there's an opening that you're qualified for at their organization, because maybe you haven't talked to that colleague in a while, or if you're just hesitant to put information down in writing your resume or your LinkedIn profile, my suggestion is to just make it a bite-sized morsel of action. Write one bullet to put on the profile or your resume. Make one phone call and choose someone who you really love to talk to, and it will be almost effortless, like catching up with a friend. So this way it's not this high barrier to doing the action. It's just commit to writing 2 sentences in sending the resume to your colleague, and commit to hitting send. And set yourself like a 3-minute time limit to do it. Just keep it simple, keep it manageable, keep it small. And I find that often when you do the one thing, it usually can move on to other things. And here's the thing, if you don't do any more after that one thing, you got one thing done. And so out of all the lists of things that you think you need to do for your job search, I'm going to suggest that you pick one and do that and see what happens. And if that doesn't work, it's now a tool you have in your arsenal. And I'm going to tell you to go sign up for Dr. Ron's mailing list and see what he has to offer in terms of daily tips and programs that he offers. Because I'm telling you, the more motivational tools you can put in your arsenal that you're going to have ready to use when you need it, it's going to help you stay motivated for your job search. So thank you so much for joining me today. Again, you can join Ron Friedman's list down below using the link. And I look forward to seeing you next week. If you think this will help someone, I'm going to ask you to share it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet so you don't miss next week's session, I'm going to ask you to subscribe. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to email me at lr@chameleonresumes.com or just put a comment below. I read and reply to every email. So thank you so much for watching. I wish you good luck in your search and have a great day.